Hi, guys. Welcome to this episode of Jack's Business Talk. Today we are with Levi. And just because I always forget, and I only just remembered right now, Levi, uh, do you have any way that people would like to contact you if so?
Um, I do have my own YouTube channel. Come be my 20th subscriber or something. At Levi Conquers All.
So
That's probably the best way to contact me. Leave a comment and I can shoot you some better contact information if you want.
awesome. So everyone go subscribe to his channel. After this episode, he'll be at 22.
All right,
I,
all right.
I got a small channel also. So Levi,
I kind of started the YouTube channel right at the same time I started my real estate investing journey. If you go back to the beginning of it, I really started it just to chronicle what it's like to get into real estate from the very beginning. Um, I do feel like there's an abundance of real estate information out there. I know I've been consuming it for years, but it's always coming from people that have been doing it for 20 years, that have enormous portfolios, that don't that have gotten past the point where they um, remember what it's like just starting out. And so I wanted to kind of chronicle the emotional roller coaster that is kind of getting to your first deal, getting to your first 4 units or so, with not so much talking about the numbers. I talk about the numbers and whatnot, but mostly I'm just talking about um, making the leap and overcoming the fear of actually making the purchase of your first real estate deal in the face of incomplete information.
yeah, awesome. Um, by the way, everyone, Levi just closed on his first deal yesterday.
I did. I'm still basking in the glow of closing on my first deal. We can talk about that. The particulars of it are probably not interesting to anybody else because you can't have that deal. It's mine now. But I just closed on a duplex in Lubbock, Texas. My very first deal. Um, Yesterday, did all the paperwork. It's all kind of new to me. I bought my personal home, but that's really only the second time that I've gone through the process of buying anything. So I'm still learning.
So is it a turnkey or is it an value add or what type of?
So yeah, let's talk about my buy box. Let's talk about my buy box. Um, let's, if you don't mind, let's just talk about how I got into real estate investing, what my goal is with the real estate investing, and that will explain my buy box, I think.
Sure. Yeah, whatever suits you.
Sounds good. Um, so I got into real estate investing as a way to diversify, but also as an interesting challenge for myself. Um, Professionally, I am endurance athlete, like an adventure athlete. I run ultra marathons and I coach ultra marathon runners. Um, but over the last 10 years or so, I have made a reasonable amount of money in the stock market, because everybody knows the stock market has gone bananas over the last 2 decades or so, as well as in cryptocurrency. Bitcoin happened to be the very first thing I invested in, and some would say that it's done pretty well. Um, and now I've ventured into real estate as a way to diversify out of the craziness that is the volatility of the crypto markets. I'm looking for a little bit more stability. Um, so actually, the money that I use to invest in real estate is borrowed against my cryptocurrency portfolio.
Okay.
In a really interesting way that might interest some of your users or some of your followers. Um, if you're interested, let me know. Through the power of the Ethereum blockchain, I borrow stable coins at 0% interest and take that money and invest it into real estate.
Oh, okay. I'm not overly familiar with crypto. So do you look at it at like stocks in a way, seeing which ones are the best fit, or do you just do like a more of like an index style where you buy certain ones and just
Um,
do
so much, I'm much deeper than that. For most people, I would say probably don't buy crypto, and if you do, buy Bitcoin. Um, right? Because you hopefully at this point understand Bitcoin. Don't buy anything that you don't understand. If you don't understand Bitcoin, don't buy it. If you understand it, it's kind of a no-brainer. That's what it was for me in 2013. It was a no-brainer. Um, I saw it for what it is, which is a stateless form of currency that is reasonably immune to inflation. Um, I looked at the history of all fiat currencies in the world and recognized that they have a track record of all eventually going to zero. So I put a small amount into Bitcoin back in the day, um, and I've been following it ever since. So I've learned a ton. To give you a little bit of context, because I don't want people to invest in cryptocurrency that don't know what they're doing. Uh, I've learned enough about cryptocurrency that about 3 years ago, I taught myself to code so that I could build applications on the Ethereum blockchain. Uh, so I went way deep. I've used all the different decentralized applications, and I understand the difference between Ethereum and Bitcoin. And if you don't understand the difference between Ethereum and Bitcoin, you probably shouldn't be buying them. But the magic of Ethereum is that it's not Bitcoin. It's not intended to be money. It's intended as a decentralized computer, a decentralized database for all value. So it can, in theory, once regulations come around, which could be decades, it could hold all equities. It could hold all real estate. It could hold all title transactions for cars. It could hold all transactions of really anything, any kind of transacting of value can be done on something like the Ethereum blockchain. Anyhow, we're off topic. I'd like to go back to real estate.
yeah.
uh, um, because I just closed on my first deal. It's kind of fresh in my mind. Um, and when Jack first contacted me, he asked me how I came about to choosing Lubbock as a market. Is that right, Jack?
Yes.
Cool. So my real estate story in short is I live in the Bay Area, and my preference would be to invest in the Bay Area. And I looked for properties in the Bay Area for about 5 years. I looked for that magical property in the Bay Area that was going to cash flow. Um, Before the pandemic, all the way through the pandemic. So I saw prices rise a good 60% since I started looking in the Bay Area. I did buy my own property while I understood the market inside and out. Um, but rental properties in the Bay Area don't cash flow. I'm looking for cash flow in real estate. And so last year I kind of decided that it was going to have to happen. I was going to have to look outside of the Bay Area. And that kind of opened up the world to me, but I hesitated for a very long time because the knowledge that's going around, and I try to listen to professionals when I can. The knowledge that's going around is that you should know somebody in the area that has intimate knowledge of the market, that can be your boots on the ground, they call it. And the truth was, I didn't have that person in any market that cash flows. I looked through my Rolodex. I didn't have that person. So I decided I was going to go it alone without that person. And I started looking at all the different possible markets. Um, the markets that kind of make sense. Most people probably know if they are into real estate investing. The Midwest kind of cash flows, kind of Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken. It's got some cash flow. Is that where you're from, Jack?
Yeah, that's where I'm from. Pittsburgh is, I forget where it's at in the rankings and stuff, but since I want to say 2016, it's always kind of been in the top 10. It's one of the few markets in the country where you can actually buy a single family home and have a cash flow.
Good,
I mean,
good.
I don't play with the single family homes because typically for the same price, slightly less, slightly more, depending on what you're looking for, you could buy a duplex or a tri. Actually, I never found a triplex of cash flows. As odd enough as that is, I haven't found a triplex, but fourplexes kill. And because of
Good.
that, I've never messed with single family homes. It's like, why have one rent when I can have four rents?
Ultimately, if it cash flows, it cash flows
Yeah.
in my eyes. Um, but I looked, I dabbled in looking at Pittsburgh, and I looked in Florida and Texas, and really what did it for me is I saw a came across a list of the top buyers markets of about 3 months ago, maybe 4 months ago, and there was a top 10 list of the top buyers markets, and nine of those were in Florida, and the last one was Lubbock, Texas. And I thought long and hard about investing in Florida, but I've lived in Florida, and I lost a beloved vehicle to a flood in Florida, and that reminded me that Florida is going to be underwater. And I am not looking for any submarine kind of properties. I'm looking for above ground properties. Um, so sorry, all you Florida investors. I think that it's going to be a little game of hot potato of who's going to have the submarine property. Um, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to mess with hurricanes. I was looking for something above ground and nice and dry. So I went and started looking in Lubbock, and all the numbers made sense. Not everything in Lubbock cash flows. Most properties don't cash flow. But I don't need all the properties in Lubbock. I just need a handful. So the way I went about it is I made a spreadsheet that analyzes properties. I assume this is similar to the way you've done, Jack. Uh, a spreadsheet that breaks down each property by yield.
Hmm.
So what cash on cash return. Um, and then I imported every property in Lubbock. I believe not every property. I got rid of any property that was that had an HOA because
Okay, yeah, yeah.
um, you like HOAs. That's great. Leaves more of the non-HOA houses for the rest of us. I didn't want an HOA. Got rid of anything with an HOA. Took the other 1,800 properties that were listed on the market and analyzed them all, and then sorted them from best to worst as far as yield goes. And then personally, in my buy box, I don't want to do renovations, so I only looked for move-in ready homes, um, which narrowed down my buy box to about 20 properties. And that's a very manageable number to just start calling around and go viewing and putting in offers. The one I eventually got was interesting. It was not what I was expecting. Most of the houses I was putting offers in on had been on the market for 60, 70, 90 days. Um, the one I eventually landed on popped up on the market. I put in an offer pretty much immediately because I recognized that it hit all the numbers perfectly. It hit all the numbers perfectly. I was looking for 8% cash flow. It hit 8% cash flow and it was move-in ready. Um, so exactly what I'm looking for. No reason to let it sit on the market if it is the deal I'm looking for.
Awesome. So you're talking about why you didn't go to Florida. So with Texas, and this is just I don't know the Texas market. Do you guys have trouble with insurance down there, keeping insurance? Like,
So um, the insurance crisis is hitting all sorts of places. Here in my home in California, we're having insurance problems. Um, we had to really jump through hoops to get insurance on my family home. In Texas, insurance rates are rising as a whole. In Lubbock, they don't have a lot of natural disasters. They had a tornado back in the day. They have some hailstorms, but they aren't affected by like hurricanes. That being said, the way by like the nature of insurance, when the coastal cities get hit by hurricanes, the premiums in Lubbock go up
okay.
uh, because us poor folks buying safe homes in Lubbock are subsidizing the folks out there by the beach.
Hmm.
That's how insurance works. That being said, I don't think there's any real danger of not being able to get insurance.
So correct me if I'm wrong. You're safe then from them doing the whole thing like they do in California and really Florida, where it's like your roof is halfway through its life expectancy and they won't insure you, saying your roof needs replaced. It's just like, and it's like I've heard so many people say, I bought a 30-year roof. It's 10 or 15 years old, and they're telling me I need to replace it.
I haven't dealt with that yet. Um, so I actually just went with an insurance broker. They got me the deal I wanted. I didn't have any troubles. Roof replacement in the Lubbock market is kind of a thing. They have hailstorms a lot, so a lot of the
Mm.
roofs are replaced every 5 to 10 years anyhow. But they seem to have a really good system for it because to replace a roof is incredibly inexpensive in the market.
Yeah, one of the things for me when I buy places, I always buy value add places so far. So pretty much every place I buy, it needs a roof, and that's why I'm always curious about that because I typically buy 50-year metal roofs.
Um, I'm considering that for my family home as when our current roof needs to be replaced is to go with the metal roof because we are in a fire prone area.
I know there was a fire near my rentals last year or the year before, but they put the whole town under a watch because the whole town is in like a valley and the fire was taking up, I think it was at like 50 acres at one point, which is nothing compared to what you guys deal with. But still, they were afraid of the embers flying over and falling into the town and catching other buildings on fire.
Um, Yeah, I don't know what to do about the I don't know what to do about the insurance thing. In California, it is bad. If you're not familiar in California, the in they have a little insurance problem that the insurers are forbidden by law raising rates, I believe, beyond 7% per year, which means that if they are going to operate, they're pretty much forced to do it at a loss. And so that's not how business works. So the insurers are just opting to not insure anything in California, which is causing a little bit of a problem because we all need the insurance.
So I don't mean to jump around a bit or a lot, but you're talking about spreadsheets and stuff. So what all is on your spreadsheet?
Oh, so I'm particularly fond of my spreadsheet, so I'll talk about it with you. Um, I'm going to tell you how I did it too, because other people might want to recreate this magic. Um, so my spreadsheet is quite exhaustive. It's only relevant really to the Lubbock market, but if anybody in a different market could probably recreate something. Um, so my spreadsheet, like I said, it analyzes for yield. So if anybody's used Deal Check or the deal analyzer on bigger pockets, it does that, right? So you put in what the list price is. I put in what my offer price is going to be, estimate insurance, I estimate taxes, estimate renovations. Um, then I have an algorithm that estimates the rents. Um, uh, uh, yeah, I have an algorithm that estimates the rents and then, all your expenses and whatnot to come up with that final yield number, right? Final yield number is total yearly revenue minus total yearly expenses divided by total cash to close. And that's the number I'm optimizing for when I make the spreadsheet. So what I do is I put in all the algorithms for one of those, and then I go to Redfin. And I don't work for Redfin, but as far as I know, this is the only place that does this. You can go to Redfin and you can put in the zip code you want and download a spreadsheet of up to 350 properties in a spreadsheet. And then I copy and paste it and it analyzes all 350 all at once. And then I do that over and over again until I get to my 2000 or whatever is in my market. And there you go. You know every property in your market analyzed within you know 5 or 10 minutes. Granted, I do want to add the caveat. I'm looking for move-in ready homes. If there are renovations that have to be done, obviously you're going to have to look and analyze how much those renovations are going to cost. So I take that spreadsheet, then I have a separate spreadsheet where I just delete all the ones that are not move-in ready. A little bit of a renovation is fine. I'll do some paint, I'll do some floors, I'll do replace appliances. But I'm not Jack here. I'm not gonna replace roofs or tear out basements or put in walls or redo the electrical. I've got another full-time job. I'm not particularly interested in renovating homes. I find it frustrating. So hopefully I don't have to dabble in that. Um, so yeah, then I just transfer all the ones that are within 20% of the numbers that I need. I transfer them to another spreadsheet. And then I find out my goal is to get an 8% yield. So I find out what the offer needs to be to make that yield number 8%. And I call and I say, hey, I can offer you up to this amount of money. Are you interested? Should I come look at the house? If they say no, there's no way this is going to work. I let it pass. I don't need to see their house if they don't want to sell it to me. That's really just a way to optimize my time because I found a big bottleneck was actually just looking at houses. And I don't need to look at the houses if they're not interested in selling it to me. So call up everybody, offer the number that makes sense, If they're interested, I'll go look at it and take it from there.
Something I've been thinking about doing for me personally, um, just taking a page out of Dion's book is he does what you're saying to do, like everything with the sheets and stuff, and you get your numbers and you put together the offer, but then he won't go look at the property. He'll just make the offer
Yes,
without looking at.
that's what I
I've
said. I'll call them and I'll make the offer, and I'll say that I can offer up to this amount, supposing that it is like it looks in the picture.
mhm.
And if we're close, then I'll go look at the property. Because I don't, yeah, like I said, I don't want to spend a bunch of time looking at a bunch of properties that are just never going to happen.
Yeah, especially with the NAR settlement too, it's going to be harder just to go pop in and look at a place and then pop back out and go to another place. It You have to pay attention to, is the contract a day contract or just that property contract?
Right, right. And that is the deal that I use with my actual or with my realtor. To be fair, I didn't actually go in any of the properties, and so therefore I didn't really need to sign a contract. My realtor just walked through and videotaped it and sent me the videos. Um, and looking for, certain things. Like I said, I don't want to do a lot of work. We walked into one and there was a big hole in the floor all the way through the foundation to dig up the sewer lines. We walked right back out. That's not something I'm interested in. Uh, um, but yeah, with my realtor, every time we're going to view a property, we sign a realtor agreement for that particular property for 3 months.
Okay.
How do you go about that, Jack? Interested
Um,
to learn, you, man.
I haven't bought anything since the whole NAR settlement was done, but I typically just do this property only. But what I do is to help try to get around it a little bit is we'll get either my agent. I just keep using the same one at this point because
Hmm.
I wouldn't
Got
say
a guy that works.
he's not the best, but it works, and he knows me. We have you know, it's been working. So he'll go do the exact same thing, film it, see if I'm even interested in the property, and he'll pitch me a few others that he's like, hey, these properties look vacant on this street. He's like, I found the owners already, blah blah blah. He's like, all you have to do is call them up and see if they're interested. In which my response is usually, well, I don't play that game. And so he's gotten to the point which is like, okay, well, I called these two. This one's interested. They want this price, blah, 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 blah. And like some of the areas I invest in are like literally in my backyard. I was like, I'm more familiar with the place that has structure issues, has foundation issues. And he's just like, how do you know all that from not even going inside the house? I was like, I have buddies that used to live there. I was like, I know what that house looks like on the inside.
My kids played with their kids. I've been in that basement.
Yeah, it's like I know what that one looks like. Just let that one fall into the ground. But that's kind of how it works for me. I try to get it based on a deal because he knows I just go to him anyway. Because the one time I did what's it called? With a listing agent, I went and used the listing agent. It ended up kind of backfiring on me a little bit because they're not representing you in their full interest, they're representing the seller in their full
Right.
interest. So it ended up kind of backfiring on me a little bit. And I'm not saying I wouldn't do it again. But I'm also saying that with the agent I have, I would rather just call him up, have him represent me, and it would get rid of a lot of the issues that I have with that property.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I think I made a video about this, is that the NAR settlement, I'm gonna say in my experience, it hasn't changed a ton. Um, but it has made people think about their agents a little bit differently.
Mhm.
Um, because you do have to have that agreement with your agent, like up front. Um, and I decided that I'm not particularly interested in signing any kind of exclusivity agreement. Like I said, for the house, that's fine. 3 months, that's fine. You want to sign a 1 week agreement or something, that's fine. But I'm not interested in signing like a 6 month agreement, and I suggest nobody sign a 6 month agreement because uh, let's put it this way. My realtor did ask me to sign a 6 month agreement, and I declined, and we came to an agreement that that's fine, and we closed on a deal, and he's getting paid, and I have every intention of going back to him for the next deal. And it's
Hmm.
not because I'm in a contract with him. It's because I think he does a great job. And
Yeah.
so if you want people to work with you, and I this is not real estate specific, this is for anything. This is what I think of when I get my car fixed. If you want people to work with you, you don't need to get them in a airtight contract. You just need to do a good job and they'll come back to you every time. I
Yeah.
drive I drive 45 minutes to get my oil changed because I love my mechanic. Do a good job and people will always come back.
Yeah, that's the thing with my agent. Like I said before, he's not the best, but I think the time and effort and energy to find something that's just a little bit better than him, it's just not worth it. I'd rather just keep working with him because he does a good job.
Right, right.
There's,
And he knows what you're looking for.
yeah,
Uh, it doesn't, I don't know, do the bare minimum thing where they just sign you up for two bedroom houses in your price range or whatever, and it just keeps going to your email because nobody likes that.
yeah. He asked me if I wanted to be a part of that, and he even said he's like, these emails are highly annoying. Just to give you a heads up, I was just like,
Yeah,
I'm
everybody
fine.
has Zillow now.
I was like, I'm perfectly fine looking for my own deals and just tell, and then just shooting you a message real quick and be like, hey, what do you know about this property? Is it worth me taking a look at? And I'd say about half the time he looks at the address, he looks at in the different things, he talks to the other agent, and he'll say, nope, not worth your time looking at it.
Yep,
And
yep.
it's a three text messages and
Which
save me like 2 hours.
this is something that yeah, my agent does the same, and I love him for it because this I like when my agent tries to talk me out of a deal. Um, that I feel establishes trust
Mhm.
because they get paid when you close a deal, regardless of how good it is or how terrible it is, right? And so their incentive is for you to sign something, not for you to make money, right? And so when they make sure that you're not taking a bad deal because this, that, or the other thing, it's in the wrong part of town, or it's um, or they know the agent that it's listed with and they do shady stuff. I appreciate that. It does establish a little bit of trust. Um, that being said, as long as we're talking about the NAR settlement, I have always found it weird that the incentive structure for buyers agents is not in is not uh is not what am I trying to say here? The buyer and the agent are not incentivized in the same way,
Yeah.
right? Because the buyer's agent makes money when the deal closes, right? And they make more the more you pay, which is not the way I want them incentivized. I would, if I were to design it, I would probably rather something like my buyer's agent gets 1% plus 10% of any amount that we get off of list price.
Yeah.
Then our incentives are aligned.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually never thought about that way. But yeah, you're right.
Um, and yeah, nobody's ever asked me how we should design the incentive structure for real estate. But it has always struck me as odd that your buyer's agent is incentivized for you to pay the highest amount possible.
Yeah,
So Jack, we got a minute left before the Zoom call kicks us off. Are we going to wrap it up or are we going to restart it?
um we can go ahead and wrap it up if you'd like.
Yeah, yeah. By all means, we'll call it a day, but let's do it again sometime. I had
Yeah,
fun
definitely.
just talking real estate. Uh, let's have some more Zoom calls and maybe record them and put them up on YouTube for other people to watch.
Definitely. Yeah.